Hi everyone, I think you all are doing well. So let's start with another question of Leetcode, that is minimum swaps to group all the ones together. So it's a medium level question on Leetcode. So let's start with it. First of all, they have the question start with what swap is. So like you know that what is swap. You can just swap the two distinct integers on an array so that you can interchange their positions. Okay, so that is a swap. Now, what is a circular array? Circular array means that the first element and the last element are adjacent to each other. Okay, so if you have an array, and you can just think of it like you have array and you have another array, so that the first element, the last elements are adjacent to each other. So this is what circular array is. Okay, so what the question says is that we are given with a binary circular array and we have to find the minimum number of swaps which is required to group all the ones together. Okay, so let's start with the first example. The first example says that we have the number as 0 1 0 1 1 and 0 0. Okay, so we can see from this particular example that if I swap this particular one with this particular 0, then all my ones would be together, right? So in that particular case I would have one swap. Now if I just swap this particular one with this particular 0, then again all my ones would be together and I will need only one swap. Fine. Also, we can do it in two swaps when this particular one is swapped with this and this particular one is swapped with this. So you will have 1 1 0 0 0 1. So in this case you will need two swaps, and for that thing this is also a consecutive one array. So how it is consecutive one? Because it is following the circular property, as I said, that the last element and the first element would be adjacent to each other. Okay, so this is the first example. You can see the second example as well. So here if you swap 1 with 0 and this one with this 0, then you will get all the consecutive ones together. So that will need two swaps, and you can also use the other properties as well, so you can get the answer. So minimum swaps required for this particular question is 2 only. Okay, now next one is 1 1 0 0 1. So this is an interesting example. You can see here that we will require 0 swaps for this. Why? Because it is following the circular array property, where this one would be adjacent to this one. Okay, so it will not need any swaps for making consecutive ones together. So answer would be 0. Okay, so from these three examples, what we have to keep in mind. Okay, so just keep in mind 2 to 3 points. First point is that we have to check for the circular area. Okay, so we have to check for the circular area, and this is the very essential point for solving any question. Okay, fine. Now in this question, what I will do is I will use a sliding window approach. Right, so I will take one example. It's 0 comma 1 comma 0 comma 1 comma 1 comma 0 comma 0. Okay, now just see that how many ones are there in this particular example. You can say that we have 3 ones there, right? And how many zeros are there? Zeros are 4. Right? Now what you have to do is, your first step is to find number of ones in this particular array. Okay, now you know that if you are using sliding window, then all the windows like of that particular length will have ones in it. So if we are having 3 ones in an array, then the window of length 3 will be having 1 in it. Okay, so if it is having 0, then you have to swap 0 with 1. Fine. So if you just see this example, you are having 0 1 0 1 1 0 0. Let's take this first three numbers, that is 0 1 0. Okay, and it is, why we are taking 3, because number of count of 1 is 3. Fine. So we have to take 3 numbers for this. So it is 0 1 0. In this particular window there are two zeros. Okay, so we have to swap 2 zeros with 2 ones to get the answer. So my minimum swaps for this question will be 2, because we are having 2 zeros. Next is, I will just increase the I, and we will be checking for the next window, that is 101. So if we check for the next window 101, now we are having only 10, so we have to swap only 10 to get my answer, and that is 1. So my swap would be 1, and it is less than the previous swap, then we will just change the swap with 1. So my current swap answer would be 1. So minimum swap is 1. Now we will again go with the another window, that would be 0 1 1. For this window also we are having 0 only. Okay, so we have to swap 0, and my answer would be 0 only, so my answer will be 1. So again for this question the answer for swaps will be 1. Okay, then again we will do with this window. So now here also we are having 1 0, so again for this question answer would be 1. And for this particular window we have 2 zeros, so for this particular window swaps would be 2, but as we have the minimum answer is 1, so we will not update this answer. Okay. Okay, so this is for the case when your array is not a circular array. But what if your array was the third test case, if it was this one? Now in this array, if you just apply this above method, then I think this will fail. Why? Because you will be checking first of all you will count the count once. Okay, so you will count once, and that will be 3. After that, after counting once for this particular array, you will be taking the window of size 3, and you will be checking it. Okay, so 1 comma 1 comma 0. Now here you have to do one swap to get all the 3 consecutive ones together. Now second window would be 1 0 0, so 1 0 0, where you have to do here 2 swaps to get all the consecutive ones together. And next window is 0 1 1 0 0 1, so here also you have to do 2 swaps. And after this, when you would be here, you will not get the sufficient swaps. Okay, because the window length is not 3, it will be 2 only. So how to solve this question? So as I said in the starting I said one line that this is a circular array. Okay, circular array means that the first element and the last element are adjacent to each other. So what if I just copy the particular array and insert it at the end of the array? So if I do that, what I will get? 1 1 0 comma 1 1. Okay, and I will just copy this array at the end of the array again. So with this example, your last element would be adjacent to first element, because this is what the question says. So it would be 1 comma 1 comma 0 comma 0 comma 1 comma 1. And now for this question, when you will find the answer, you will find a window where you need not to do any swap. Okay, so your answer for this window, when 3 ones are together, your swaps would be 0. Nice approach, no? So this is how we have to do this question, and I think this understanding of the question is done, and this is how we will approach the question. We have checked the conditions, we have checked what things we have to do and what things we have to avoid. Fine. So let's start this question. Okay. So first thing which I need for this question is I have to count once, because that is needed actually. Then we need min swaps, because that is what the question requires. So min swaps would be assigned as int max. Okay. After this, we will count the number of ones in this question. Fine. So now count once would be calculated. Okay. Now we are using the sliding window approach. Then we need 2 pointers. We need counts. We should have the count for the zeros, because that is what we are comparing for the swaps, right? So what things we have to have for this question is we have 2 pointers, I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 0. We will have another variable that will maintain the count of zeros. Okay. Now next step, that is for the circular array. What is that? We have to add all the array from the starting to the end. Okay. So you will do nums dot insert nums dot end nums dot begin nums dot end. Okay. So what this will do is this thing. It will insert all the arrays from the starting to the end, so that you can have the array of size 2n right now. So yeah, so we need one more thing. Okay. So right now what we have to do is we have to use the sliding approach, but now my length is not n, my length is twice of n, because we have inserted the same array at the back of the array, so we have to increase the length by 2n. So my while loop, in my while loop, my j will go till twice of n. Okay. So I think this is clear that why we are inserting the array, because we have to fulfill this condition of circular array. If we will not do this, then it will run fine for this and this particular examples, but for this particular example it will fail. Okay. So now what I have to do, for every example I have to count 0. Okay. For every window I have to count 0. So if nums of j is equal 0, then I will do count So if nums of j is equal to 0, then we have to do count zeros plus plus. Now, next case is if I have reached the length of count once, that means my j minus I plus 1 is equal count once. Now in that case, we have to swap, we have to stop, and we have to update the value of min swap with the minimum of the count zeros and the swap min swap value. So if my j minus I plus 1 is equal to count once, okay, 10, then what we have to do, if j minus I plus 1 is equal to count once, then I have to update min swaps with minimum of min swaps and count zeros. Okay. Now we are shrinking the array. We have to go forward, so we have to shrink the window. So in that case, we have to check that we have to do I plus plus. Fine, we have to do I plus plus. Now before doing I plus plus, I have to check that the nums of I was 0 or not. If nums of I was 0, then I have to do count 0 minus minus, because in that case you have to remove that particular 0 from the count 0. Okay, so you have to check that if nums of I was equal to 0, if yes, then you have to remove 1 0 from the count. Then in this case you have to do I plus plus, because we are shrinking the window and we are going to the next window of the same length. Okay, and after this step do J plus plus. So I think this whole step is very much clear to you all, that how we are doing this. Okay, now after doing this, after coming out from this loop, I will get my answer as in the min swaps. So min swaps will be containing all the minimum swaps which is required. Okay, fine. Now one more check you have to do. You have counted once, but what if all the array is having 0, it is not having 1. So in that case your loop will be going for an infinite loop, and it will be giving a very large number, which is not at all needed for that, because you will never get an answer in which all the there is a consecutive ones together. So you have to check this, that if count ones is equal 0, then return 0. Okay, fine. So I will just repeat this particular code again. So what we are doing is, we are just finding the count ones as I told you in the approach. Then we will be having the n as num sort size, min swaps for int maximum. Then after this we will be counting number of ones in the array. After this we will be checking that count ones is equal to 0. So we don't have any 1 in the array, so we will returning 0. Then we will be using sliding window approach, where I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0, and count zeros would be 0. After that we will be checking for the circular array condition, so we will be inserting the nums from the first to the last of the array, so that our condition of circular array is fulfilled. Now one thing I want to tell you, that this circular array condition makes this question a good one, because without this it's a very easy question. Okay, so this is a very good step you have to take. Okay, after that you have inserted the array again to the last of the nums array. So the length of the array is now 2 into n. Okay, so you have to go from j less than 2 into n. Okay, this is done. Then you have to check that if nums of j is equal 0, you have to do count 0 plus plus. Then if you have to check that j minus I plus 1, the length of the window, is equal count once, then you have to update the value of min swaps. Then you have to check that the value of nums I is equal 0. If it's equal 0, then do count zeros minus minus and do I plus plus, and j plus plus would be there. Then return min swaps and you will get your answer. Fine, so let's run this. Okay, so this is working fine for my particular approach. Let's submit this. So it's working fine. So any guesses for the time complexity? Okay, so time complexity would be big of it. Why? Because we are just counting the ones. Okay, after then we are just going with the array, and for the worst case it has to go for the whole array. Okay, so in that case your time complexity would be big of n. Okay, space complexity is big of 1. Why? Because we have not utilized extra space. Okay, we have utilized extra space. We are inserting the array again. Okay, so this is acquiring the extra space. So time complexity will be big of n. So space complexity and time complexity for this particular question is big of n. So we have done this question in big of n time and time complexity in big of n time and big of n space. So if you can find a better solution with big of one space, then I think it would be a better solution. But yeah, this is it. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Bye bye.